It's a side of road trauma that's life-changing but largely hidden. Serious injury road collisions have left hundreds of Tasmanians brain damaged, disfigured and in wheelchairs. Would lowering speed limits reduce the damage? Tamara Glumac reports.
Lee Thurlow was just weeks away from her 30th birthday when life took a devastating turn.
Raising my 3 children, I had jobs and worked and just so independent, like it, yeah. But now I depend on people every day and I can't get out of bed without someone here to help me.
Lee has spent the past 16 years in a wheelchair, unable to walk and with only limited movement in her hands. A car crash on the Tasman Peninsula one summer's night in 1995 left her an incomplete quadriplegic. The young mother of 3 was a passenger and hadn't been wearing a seatbelt.
Went round a corner and lost control of the car and I hit my head on the roof, which crushed my vertebrae and knocked me out, and I never woke up for 3 days. Then I woke up in ICU in the Royal and 3 days later and couldn't talk because I had ventilation down my throat. I remember having just not been able to move.
When she did wake, it was to the start of a new life, including 2 years in hospitals and rehabilitation centres. 16 years on, Lee needs carers 9 hours a day and can still spend months at a time in hospital with spinal injury complications like pressure sores and chest infections. The 46-year-old is among a growing number of Tasmanians living with the hidden side of road trauma.
There is a side to road safety that a lot of people perhaps don't think about as much as fatalities, and that's the serious injuries. And the sort of injuries that people can sustain and leave them changed for life.
A lot of people don't understand and realise the trauma that goes on with these crashes well after the actual crash itself.
Already this year there have been 230 serious injury collisions in Tasmania, up 5% on the same time last year. The Transport Department estimates road trauma cost Tasmania around $550 million a year. Every fatal crash costs the community about $2.6 million and each serious injury collision $266,000. And that's without the medical bills and rehabilitation costs.
If a young person is seriously injured, let's say a traumatic brain injury, it has been said that to extend out their full life may well cost $12 million.
Crash investigator Sergeant Rod Carrick says most serious and fatal collisions are avoidable. Speed is to blame for more than a third of those crashes.
You've got the speed, you've got the alcohol, inattention. They are the major causes of serious and fatal crashes. And if we can reduce that, we'll certainly reduce the serious and fatal crashes.
Intensive care paramedic Neil Smith has been to many crash scenes in his 29 years in the ambulance service. He's witnessed horrific scenes.
I've seen people with limbs or part of limbs missing. I have seen abdominal organs falling out from their stomach. I have seen people who have been scalped, people with facial injuries so severe that people are unrecognisable.
Many casualties have been young. Tasmanians aged 17 to 25 account for 28% of those killed or seriously injured.
Young people have a life to live ahead of them, and for the sake of a few distracted seconds or some stupid behaviour, we are now dealing with a life that is wasted and will never be regained.
The Road Safety Advisory Council believes lower speed limits would go a long way to reducing the injury toll.
A decrease in 10% in the speed limit from 100 down to 90, we could expect to get something like probably between 20 to 30% less serious crash injuries.
The council wants to cut speed limits from 100 kilometres an hour to 90 on sealed roads and 80 on gravel roads. It's handed a final report on the plan to the state government, which is now considering the recommendations. The focus is also turning to pre-driver education. Road safety education courses for Year 10 and secondary students were recently rolled out in all Tasmania's public schools.
Getting to potential drivers, those that are about to start driving before they do, and trying to form good, responsible attitudes is really important, and probably one of the most powerful ways of getting a difference in behaviour.
For road trauma survivors like Lee, the message is simple. Just a few seconds and one mistake is all it takes for life to change forever.
It's not worth it, you know, just for a few seconds. A half an hour trip home, you know, and that was it. I never went back there again. 1 minute you're normal, walking around, doing normal everyday things. Next minute you're flat on your back and never going to walk it again, and your life depends on a wheelchair.